Hi, everyone. Very good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us for the fourth episode of Women in Technology, our LinkedIn Live series that we have been running for the last 2 months. You all know my name is Shipra Malhotra, and I'm the executive editor of Dynamic CIO and your host for this evening. I'm also joined by my colleague and hi everyone. Very good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us for the fourth. Sorry, I think I also had my LinkedIn Live open simultaneously. So I am joined by my co-host and colleague Mukbil Ahmer, who is also the executive editor of Dynamic CIO, and he will be also moderating this session along with me. Like I said, over the last 2 months, we have had the privilege of bringing you the stories of 6 exceptional women leaders from the technology industry, women who have shattered the glass ceiling to reach the top. And along the way of exploring their journeys, we also dealt with some very critical issues pertaining to leadership and women in the technology industry. And every single conversation that we have had so far has brought out a lot of new dimensions of leadership that these women leaders have demonstrated. And today we are going to be taking this dialogue forward and explore yet another dimension of leadership with two highly accomplished leaders who have again shattered the glass ceiling to reach where they are today. I'll introduce them both in just a minute. And in an industry predominantly male, they have held their own, they have led from the front, and are driving changes of great impact within their organizations. As you are aware, our objective behind running this series is not only to inspire other women in the tech industry through the success stories that we bring to you, but also to mentor them on key aspects that will prepare them to move up the ladder into the leadership roles that they aspire for. There is a lot to be said about the representation of women in technology today. And while the pipeline is there at the entry level and to some extent at the mid level, there are very few women in the leadership roles today. And the ultimate aim for us is to see gender parity at the top management and leadership positions. So, without waiting more, let me introduce the two fantastic women leaders that we have in this episode of LinkedIn Live. While I will be introducing them, it is just what you can say, a bio that is has been picked up from LinkedIn, but we will actually be exploring their personas more in the fireside chat ahead. So let me first welcome Priya Dar. Priya is the head of digital strategy and innovation at Amway India. Priya has spent over 2 decades in the industry with a track record of managing complex and large scale projects, and she has worked uh, extensively across industries, including FMCG, telecom, retail, and finance. And prior to joining Amway India, Priya was the CIO of Godfrey Phillips, where she worked closely to design and execute the overall strategy for IT. And she interacted with top executives of the company to develop new IT solutions that help drive business results. So, welcome, Priya. Thank you so much for joining us today. And
Thank you. Thank you, Shipra.
And I also have with me Prativa Mohapatra, Vice President Sales for IBM India and South Asia. Prativa is a business and technology professional with more than 25 years of experience. Currently, she leads sales for IBM India and South Asia. She is responsible for driving sales of IBM's end-to-end portfolio of solutions and services across clients in the India Southeast Asia region. And prior to that, she was responsible for driving the business and adoption of Watson, the leading AI platform for IBM, and also managed the Smarter Cities mission. Welcome, Prativa, to this show.
Thanks, Shipra. Hi, Priya and Mukul.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
So great. Let me just start, the session. Like I said, these are just LinkedIn profiles of these two women leaders, and we will get to know the real people behind these across our discussions today. So, Priya, I want to start with you. A great career span, where you have worked with in multiple industries across various segments. But what was the starting point of your journey? Like, did you always want to be in the area of technology? What actually got you fascinated with technology and the starting point of this whole journey?
Thank you, Shipra. Thank you for that amazing question. I come from a generation where, either in your family you wanted to be you had to be a doctor, or you had to be an engineer, or nothing else. There was no third option. So fortunately, my father, I mean, the technology industry was just starting, and this is I want to say early 1990s, where the technology was coming into India. And my father was, thankfully, he was abreast of what is happening in the country, and he kind of picked up on the fact that this is where the technology, where the future is. And he kind of pushed me to go into this world. And I'm glad every single day that he did, because, if in the last 2 decades that I've seen the industry go from one success to another. So yeah, my story starts that way. It is not one of those empowered women story where she kind of goes against the grain of the society and wants to do technology. Nope, my father wanted me to do this. I was and I'm thankful to him. He pushed me here. I did my engineering from the University of Pune. Came out of and I got into a few good jobs at that point in time. The industry was starting to get technology ready, and I got to get my hands dirty in those kind of areas, and that's what I think helped me grow and shaped me into what I am today.
But actually, it's great, Priya, to know that, like you said, your journey wasn't the cliched, where your family was against you growing or something. But it's good to know that, and it's good to know that there is change happening, and you are an example of that. So, Prativa, coming to you again, it is an exciting industry that you are part of, that both you and Priya are part of. But you are at a completely different end of the industry, where you are part of the vendor community. But before I come into the complexities and nuances of your role there, again, how did your journey start? From what I understand, you came from a very protective background, where you had a lot of siblings and you were the youngest, I think probably one of the youngest among them. So how did you come out of that shield of protection and grow into what you are today?
Yeah, and then like Priya said, in addition to doctor, engineer, I'm from Orissa, and Orissa we had a third option, which was in civil services, right?
Yes,
So
UPSC.
UPSC, that was a third option that definitely was there. But yeah, I mean, back to my background, my own siblings, I have 4 elder brothers, and I'm the youngest daughter. Now, having said that, my dad, he's like 3 brothers. He was the only one who came to the city after completing his education in the village. But all of his 3 brothers' kids, as soon as they finished their matriculation or 10th in those times, used to land up in our house. And he was a government servant. We had a small flat. And in addition to us, 5 of us, we used to have at least another 3, 4 cousins in my house. So it was 8, 9 cousins in one house. I grew up all my life, in that way. Being a government servant, as you can imagine, in those days, very less resources at hand. In 3 rooms, you had 12 people. But somehow there was fun, there was collaboration. And when I look back, I think the things about having less resources and still doing stuff with that is when I learned from some of that. Now, how did technology happen? And by the way, my 4 of my own brothers, none of them are engineers or into technology. But my cousins, who used to come and stay in my house, they were more driven because they came from village and they had to make it happen. So almost all of them either became engineers or doctors. And as we were studying in the same a 3-room house, I used to see them preparing for some exams and all of it. So of course, I was a good student, so science was by default by then. And then seeing my cousins prepare, I started picking up. I used to pass on my notes. They used to pass on the notes. So it just, I picked up an interest in that, and I applied. And again, because we were almost 5, 6 guys in the house and me as the only girl, I never felt different in my childhood. Of course, the story changed later. And then I just went with the flow, appeared for this exam, JE at that time, and I got through engineering, and I went into computer science. And of course, while I studied engineering into hardcore technology, I started having a big desire to be a business leader. So instead of getting into a IT job immediately, I did an MBA. And that's when I got out of my MBA. So my technology and leadership together in my bag. And then I went into PwC and started my career.
Right, wonderful. Wow, these are two extremely different and very diversified human stories. This actually goes to show uh, uh, the different tracks that human lives take, different circumstances that we all face. And I'm really surprised and very pleasantly surprised at uh, learning about your initial journeys. And of course, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome both of you to this LinkedIn Live session, which is organized by Greyhead Media. My name is Mukbil Ahmed. I'm the executive editor. And I hope and wish that all of you are safe and secure. These are really uncertain times. And I feel really truly honored and very enlightened by the stories which are coming to the fore through this forum, in which we really discuss the individual journeys that such highly placed and distinguished women leaders are bringing to this forum. So this is really very interesting, and I've heard both of you, and they are actually studies in contrast. So coming to you, Priya, would you like to share some, uh, anecdotes or anecdotal instances uh, into basically how you evolved into the business and technology leader that you currently are? For example, your first career breakthrough, you can draw from your experiences in your formative years, childhood, growing up, career, or even for that matter, your professional career. For example, facing the board for the first time, something that really stands out when you reflect and think about your life and your journey.
Yeah, thanks, Mukpir. And I love these kind of conversations because these are not really about technology anymore. It's more about
Not at
we
all.
as women, we as women, how what has our journey been like, and maybe if I can in my life just help one woman overcome some roadblock in her life, that would be amazing. So my story, it's a normal, I did my graduation. I got into I got into a few jobs. One of the big things that happened to me, and I don't think as women we really look out for it, but one of the things that happened with me was I found a few good mentors. In my earlier Times of India days, I had this one mentor, and he's still around, and he's a most amazing person that I've ever met. And he's completely different. There are days when you wouldn't even see him. He would come, he would sit in his office, and then 3 days later he would come out and he had some brilliant idea in his mind. So I got a chance to work with people like those and learn from people like those. And one of the things I realized is that as women, we shy away from reaching out to people for mentorship, and that was my first learning. And it's sad that I kind of realized this very late in my life, that we have to reach out to people and ask for help. But then I was one of the lucky few who got to interact with these kind of people. I got my chances. I got to work in different areas. I got married, and then I moved to the United States, where I again a completely different way of working. But thankfully again I found a lady, and that was where my this journey about getting women, as a woman helping women and making sure that if there's even a small thing that I can do for women started. I can think of so many examples where you're sitting in a I have been one of those people who have been in a boardroom and I was the only woman there. So many cases where not even a boardroom, forget the boardroom, I'm talking about a leadership meeting, the HODs. I am the only woman, and I'm probably the first woman there. And a lot of such meetings where they kind of expand the leadership team just because they want more women there. So I've seen those things, and it's not like we don't have women 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. There's such amazing women that I work with, but for some reason we need to pull them up. So just to give you an example, I was in one of these meetings where I was supposed to give a presentation to, in my previous job, I was supposed to give this presentation to the chairman of the company, and we were supposed to be telling him how technology, and he was a 75-year-old man, and he'd been running the company since before independence. And he was really enthusiastic, and he would read every single day, and every single meeting he would get pre-reads, and he would have questions noted down. And I was nervous like hell. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing there. I had never, I'd said hello to him in the lift. I'd never really attended any meeting. And this particular meeting, he was not supposed to attend, but for some reason he decided at the last minute, and who are we to say no to him? So he walked in, and I kind of started the presentation. Again, I have to go back to the people I was working with. And then the presentation was done with the help of my then boss. And then he said, you have to present it. And I started, and I was shivering. And my then boss was sitting right there. And I gave that presentation. I mean, there were so many times when I called him up and said, why are you making me do this? You know, you have to do this. While I have done all the work, I will do everything that you need me to do. I don't want to present it to him at all. Why don't you do it? Thankfully, he didn't allow that. And the chairman at the end of the meeting stood up and he said, I think this was one of the best presentations I've had in the last 50 years. And I think
Wow.
that still gets goosebumps on my hand. I think we are the ones who don't really, we are the ones who push ourselves back. We pull ourselves back. We have to take those chances. I mean, at the worst, what would happen? It would be a routine presentation. And then, but I mean, I have to tell you, there were so many times when I decided I'm not going to do this. Even when I didn't know that the chairman was attending, I thought just the HOD is 15 people sitting there going to judge my work. And so many times I told people around me that, you know, you have to do it, you have to do it. So, I mean, there have been so many instances like this where I walk into a room with 15 men sitting in the room, and they suddenly stop talking because they have their own language. They have the, you know, they use this
Bro code.
amazing. Yeah. And suddenly and then, you know, after 5 times of me walking and they keeping quiet, they came up to me and said, you know, you are one of the guys now. And at that point, you don't really realize, why do I have to be one of the guys? I mean, you know, I don't need to be that. But then, you know, you don't know what to say. The first few times you don't say anything, and the 4th, 5th time, if that happens again, you kind of stand up and say, no, I'm not one of the guys. So I think, I mean, these things kind of shape you and make you what you are eventually. And you know, these stories, sharing these stories probably helps other people. It's not been a, you know, amazing smooth ride. There have been ups and downs. There have been so many late nights and you know, nervous tension and shaky legs. But thankfully, I'm here.
I would agree. I mean, that is one of the uh, very interesting experiences that we all have during our own respective journeys. And I couldn't agree more with you. You know, as you emphasized and reiterated how many times there have been that the room is completely devoid of any female member. In fact, I have myself been to events and conferences and have seen several where the number is either 1 or a complete 0. And I would agree with you that those are the instances where you actually feel that diversity is something which really needs to be brought into the picture. And so coming to you, Prativa, I mean, you painted a very interesting picture, you know, that
Yeah.
village house and that village room, and you know, the cousins growing up together and studying together. I'm sure you must be having lots of anecdotes. So this, some of these special really memorable ones, you know, especially during your formative years,
Yeah.
building your career and your childhood, or even while you know, please feel free to share with our audience here.
Yeah. So when I look back, you know, I feel the environment matters so much. And when I look at my childhood, I had men, you know, I had my brothers and my cousins all around me, and it was by default I was doing what they were doing. Nobody was judging me, and by default I went into engineering exam because they gave it. So uh, it is a house, the home, which creates the first step for girls, right? So if in people who are listening to us, if they're youngsters, if they're young married women and family, it is the starting point of how you treat girls or what you expect or how you see them vis-a-vis boys is at home. So if there is no sort of difference in that, then the child grows thinking everything is not, there's
Same
no
and equal.
differentiation, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that was a big advantage, I would say, despite the resource crunch in my house. The advantage of having a commonality, and the fact that my brothers, or in fact, there was a cricket field in front of our house. There was a big team of 12 members. They were all like, we were all together, and I used to go sometimes, passing the ball when it fell across to our. So it was all very normal. I never felt, oh, girl, boy kind. So now when I look back, those houses, those homes, those environments, those childhood, which start with making feeling no differentiation, is the best foundation that we can give. And that I tell to myself, how I talk to my daughter today. We talk about the same cricket match, we will talk about same politics, we will talk about same let's cook up something good. So it's a very neutral conversation, right? And neutral environment, and that's a big thing. And thanks to second, of course, as I went out of that environment where there was neutrality, I found a completely different environment in my engineering college, right? And then it was in Rourkela. That's where I studied, and we were the first batch where we were about 30 girls vis-a-vis 300 guys, and it was after a long time that there was 10%. Before us, it was 5%, 4% of women, and it was being a NIT, so there was REC. So there were people from all states, not only Orissa. And I went from a very protected by my brothers. And then when I used to, in fact, go for my 12th class, there was a rickshaw puller, and my mom used to send the peon driving a cycle behind me, just securing me, all of that. Suddenly to this engineering college environment, people from all states, and such a big difference of number of people who are there. And those guys suddenly did not behave the same way like my brothers used to make me feel. There was distinct behavioral differences, right? And in those days, the few girls, we used to always ensure we used to walk together. We used to be afraid to walk alone, right? You take your entire classmates and walk together. You reach the college, we used to cycle, and after the classes are over, when you come out, somebody's deflated your tires. Guys are having fun at your at your cost, and you're like looking, oh, you're alone, and there are those 6 people sitting there watching you, right? How do you react? So I think sometimes, as I say, life chooses us, and sometimes we choose life, right? Now these moments, it has just come in front of us. Now how we react and how we deal with it determines how we move forward. So I could have reacted differently. I could have started, getting upset, agitated, or afraid, right? But I said, okay, just take your cycle, go to the nearest cycling stand, repump it, come back to the hostel. So, but as women, we spend 5-10% of our mental bandwidth all the time trying to handle these things which men normally don't deal with. So I feel I'm giving away 5% or 10% of my productivity. I did definitely as my childhood, handling things which somebody else did not have to deal with. So again, then I said, okay, that built resiliency for me, which is coming in good stead now. But so those are the incidents. Then you come back to hostel. In those days, early 90s, ladies' hostels used to close down at 6 p.m. in the evening. The gates used to shut down. We couldn't get out of the ladies' hostel, right? I mean, really? Why? Are we in a place where our lives are in danger? What's going on? But so much bias in the system. And again, was it anger or was it what? But let me tell you, inside those 4 walls of the ladies' hostel, my best memories, my best strength, away from that protected environment, being faced with the real life biases. But my girlfriends in that hostel, that 30 of us, really gave each other strength. We used to find a strategy how to laugh it out. And next day, okay, how we will, 3 of us go together and ensure that we leak the tires of some guy there, right? Those kind of strategies we started building, and we started having fun. And we all believe that if we were together, we were really cracking stuff up. So those gates shutting down at 6, it was a reflection of the society. right? And then, but again, just like we shattered all of that, I graduated in computer engineering. Um, Again, we were in our batch. I took to sports. I was playing badminton, and again, nobody ever played badminton in the common badminton arena there. You had your ladies' hostel, you had your boys, but we were the ones who went to the common arena. So we often say take the stage. In IBM, we have a program called Take the Stage. We encourage young girls to, with respect to communication and talking, and as she said about presentations, you know, uh, we call it decent bragging, how to brag without sounding
obnoxious.
yeah, how to take the stage. So these are little modules of programs we are doing now.
Oh, wonderful.
But in the 90s, these events of cycles, tires being deflated, gates shutting down at 6 in the
But
evening.
let me tell you, Prativa, men are not the only ones who get bullied. Not women. I mean, I have had many instances where I was bullied. So there are bullies all around. But I would agree that the instances can be more.
It
In
was
case
better.
of,
I mean, I don't know how much you've seen. We had graffiti all over, right? Right? In our college days, we had graffiti, we had tire being deflated, we were deprived of 5% of a mental bandwidth, you know, and when you
I
get
can,
over all that, life is easy then, right?
true,
And
true.
then, of course, when I went into my management education, it was a different world all over again. It was very equitable, and in my MBA, but then I had already got baptized by fire, so I found it quite easy at the end. So it was all good. So those were the learnings, and of course, then job started. Then you realize in the job scene also there is biases, there are assumptions. I some of my earlier projects were one was in a cement factory in Nepal, and then I was on a tire factory for one of the tire companies we were implementing. So these factories, I mean, I was surprised there was no ladies' toilets, right? And
It's a
that
very
was,
big problem in a setup or in a country like India, where
I mean, because there were
basic,
assumptions that women will never come and work in these kind of places,
true.
right? Now,
We
again, I was doing an oil and gas project, and we were not allowed to go to the offshore rigs. Okay, you can go to the onshore. So the belief that women can't take these dangers, women will not go to the shop floor and work. Those were biases which came in front. So again, more pressure on us because I have to tell my mind that my biological clock or my need to go to the toilet has to be managed. So these pressures are not there. So the amount of pressures that we have gone through, but of course things have changed. So these are really events which has
I
impacted.
would change that number of 5% to say 15, 20, 30%.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Prativa, I agree that a good percentage, like Maqbil said, not just five. I think a good percentage of the time of the productivity bandwidth goes into these issues. So, Priya, I want to come back to you, and you. I think hats off to you for really talking about your first experience when you were presenting to the management, how you were shivering, and I think not just me, I think almost everyone, not just women, I think men across the board will totally understand that, because we all have gone through it, though we don't like to admit it. But this will give courage to a lot of women who and a lot of people who are watching this show, that it is okay, if I don't have the softness, or to go ahead and present, in the first go. I may be wrong. I may make mistakes. That's okay. It's okay to learn from there. So talking about mistakes, a lot of success stories you must be having. But were there any mistakes or any failures that you want to talk about? Because ultimately those are what we learn from. And if you're okay with talking about them.
Of course. I think for every success, I have around 59 failures. So let's be very clear. I don't think the road to where we are today is all happy and nice and whatever. See, the one of the things that we have to understand is not every organization, and I come from a set of organizations which are not traditionally been tech savvy. every single thing that happens in these organizations, be it network, be it security, be it anything related to IT, is the IT's fault, residential IT's fault. So a lot of things that are really not your fault are somehow turned to be your fault. I remember we had a town hall across the country, and the CEO was supposed to talk there. And 5 minutes before, we realized that our network links were fluttering really badly. Nothing to do with us, but of course, nobody is going to go and tell the CEO that, I'm sorry, you'll have to push your session by 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because the network links are fluttering. Another session, I remember 10 minutes before, and these things happen within those 5 to 10 minutes of, when the actual thing happens. 10 minutes before, the wire that was connecting the mic to our whole, the new age, amazing technology, the wire got cut and we had no replacement. So, I mean, these are issues that, you have to deal with. I remember one time that we implemented, this was when I had, I was in in one of the organizations, it was fairly flexible, but we wanted to implement, so we were using Microsoft PowerPoint. And Microsoft PowerPoint, there was some information that we wanted to feed to the Microsoft PowerPoint, and the smart people that we wanted to create a bolt-on to Microsoft PowerPoint where people would upload their information and then it would magically create charts and everything. So we spent a good 2 to 3 months developing it and talking about it, and we were all really excited about it. The day of the demo, nothing worked. I mean, we tried our level best, nothing worked. And we went back to the drawing board. It took us another 2 months to figure it out. And then we came back and we made it work. Another time I remember RPA. I'm sure technology people who are watching us, robotic process automation was something that we wanted to bring to the company. And we'd been talking about it for such a long time that, it will bring efficiencies. It will just radically change the processes, and we'll have to, people will be free to do other stuff and they'll not have to do mundane jobs. Again, we worked, on it for a long time. We tried to automate one process that we wanted to showcase. Again, sitting in that boardroom with a lot of HODs, refused to work. The project refused to work, and it was amazing. I mean, the completely flat. It just refused to start over. So I mean, I think I've had my share, and probably 10, 15 more people shares of failures. And every single failure, I think it has been, and I don't want to say that I've been able to pick myself up and say, you know what, let's do it again. It has been a challenge. You get frustrated, you get stressed, you don't really know what to do. But if you surround yourself with people who are supportive, and you surround yourself with people who will pick you up rather than just pushing you back down, and you will not find these people everywhere, you'll have to look for these people. I think that's critical. I mean, you have to be, as you grow in the leadership, it's more about you being a people manager than being a technology expert. And that's my mantra in all of this. Absolutely. You need to have people, you need to have build relationships, you need to have your team on your side, need to have your peers on your side, you need to have your boss on your side. And that's what will make you overcome these failures. And every single failure teaches you something. I mean, we've been inside our houses for the last 8 months. We have so much to be thankful for. I think that's what we need to do. We need to learn from these failures and hopefully not repeat the same mistakes, but make new ones.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing those failures. I think we all can resonate with our own set of failures that we have that we keep making, but learning from them, that definitely is the key. So Prativa, I was just thinking that when we talk about women in the technology industry, first of all, when we talk about the pipeline at the leadership level, it is a very small pipeline as it is. And if we talk of women in sales in the technology industry, it's even fewer numbers. I mean, the numbers cut down. So how did you end up being in sales? Was it something that you were driven towards? And do you think that there are certain unconscious biases that you feel, when you are sales leader in the technology industry?
Yeah, I think women in sales is as much a thing as men in culinary or men in fashion, right? I think it's. I think some of the best chefs and the best
Their
designers
numbers are
are men,
growing.
right? Sales.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is somebody's convenience who has made this thing and just kept people out, right? Because my progression to coming into sales, I started with consulting and what have you, and then because I was in consulting, it was relationship selling, right? But in today's world, even the hardcore sales, every serv- IT industry, services industry, whether it's financial services, any tech services, the entire industry there, sales is transformed. It is no longer that uh, number, I'll fire you if you don't make your numbers. Yes, there is quarterly objectives, but then which job doesn't have a business objective? It so happens
True.
that for the CIO, the business objective is to keep the network running, to keep the applications running. It so happens that the business objective of the HR leader is to hire so many, is to manage this performance. So it so happens that for the sales leader, it is to create a pipeline of business and to drive top line, right? So if the mindset is about whatever I'm doing, it is a business outcome that I am driving. That's number one. Second, as an industry or as a the transformation of the business outlook for the entire world has changed. Today, the hardcore manufacturing companies are also talking about relationship-based selling, uh, and we know women are the best in relationship management and selling. So, right. So every industry is the sales is relationship based, the output is a business outcome, right? And then the sales leadership style. The sales leadership as a subject has changed in the last decade. Earlier, a typical sales leader, a regional manager, or a country head sales used to be that hire and fire person. And then, wait, today it is about positive leadership. It's about empathy. It's about still driving to these numbers in a different way. And there are enough and more examples, right? In the global forum, the so-called uh, hardcore number-driven companies have transformed. So, so it's a myth, like I said, about. And of course, maybe 10 years back it was true because you really had to do almost door-to-door selling or hard sell, as they say, right? Today
Right.
it is relationship sell. Today everything is about services and solutions. Even a airlines company sells the experience of airlines, or a engineering company sells the experience of setting up a place to work, right? So in that world, there's no need to be afraid of being a sales leader, right?
True, true.
Because your style is relationship. The world needs sales solutions. Every job is about a business outcome. What is the business outcome of this job? It's different from that other one. And third, and the last one is the sales leadership or sales skills, right? And don't be afraid that you'll have a boss who is like running with
A
a
stake behind you.
because it's right. It is a changed world. But yes, it's transformed. And in today's world, whoever is listening in here, I would say there is no fears there. It's changed. And it's again, it's in the mind. Just move with it. That's how it
So,
is.
Prativa, one thing that just comes to my mind, how you spoke about how the world of sales has really changed from, a hire and a fire kind of a policy to more relationship oriented, people oriented, something which is very, very remarkable. So, do you think, this is often talked about that, women have a greater emotional intelligence, things like those. So, do you think that uh, such things make women more suitable for roles which need empathy, which need engagement with people, which need to uh, engage with people and deal with them in a more empathetic fashion?
absolutely. And then we talk about the left brain and right brain thing, and the analytical and the artistic mind, right? And definitely women have more of that ability for EQ and all of it. But again, I think EQ as a subject matter has become neutral. All male leaders are also taught about and made aware about EQ, because today the whole world, whether it is corporate or whether it is political world, the world over, the empathy has become the biggest talk of the town. How you empathize with people, right? In whichever field you are. So yes, we have a natural strength there, I think, right? And then that's why uh, it's a very good place to be in terms of sales roles for all the girls out there.
Right, right. I would like to bring Priya into the discussion now. Priya, you have heard all of us, and there have been several instances where we spoke about, Shipra also alluded to it, how the pipeline is like really small. And we all would agree, I mean, through our own personal and practical experiences in our own lives, that women are quite underrepresented in the field of technology. I mean, this question is a little off, not that very related to your personal journey or something like that, but more towards thought leadership as women leaders in your own rights. So talking to you about this, what do you think could be the reasons, and what can be done to remedy the situation? Because as we see, and as instances and anecdotes have come out, the numbers are in stark contrast. I mean, there is massive underrepresentation. So any thoughts on that?
So I don't know if you've heard of this, but there's this thing called diversity hiring. And the first time that I heard about diversity hiring, the feminist in me, or the woman in me stood up and said, "What is this? How can this be? How can you hire me just because I'm a woman? And that's not fair. Hire me for my skill set. Hire me for my ability to do the work, and equate me to the people who are interviewing with you, and don't make gender a reason for you to give me those +2 points, which kind of but then as you grow into the business, and as you start to interview people, and as you try to grow your teams, and you see the talent pool out there, you see that it's already skewed. I mean, whatever you do, you give 2 points for being a woman, you give -2 points for being a male. The people who are coming to you for an interview are already 80% male and 20% female. So the system in itself is skewed against women. So at some point in time, I kind of made my peace with just to complete the story, I made my peace with diversity hiring, and I'm all for it now. But I think we have, and if you go to colleges now, like Prativa was saying, at my time, I was also in one of the batches which had about 20% of women. But if you go to colleges now, and when we when we talk to colleges, there's a higher percentage of women who are attending colleges, joining colleges, and graduating. If you go to some of the campuses, I had the privilege of going to, I remember HCL once for a session there. I went to an organization in Noida where we had a session, and I saw so many women in those sessions and talking. But then when you look at the boardroom or you look at the HODs, again, there are none. So I think it's important for us to create, not diversify hiring. We need to diversify our HR policies. We need to diversify the work culture. We need to make sure that women feel safe when you come to the office. Like Prativa was saying, small things, a bathroom for women, not a big deal, but can you imagine how important it is for the women who are working in the plant to have this separate space for themselves? In our office today, we have a crutch where in an emergency, even today, women are primary caregivers of the kids. So if there's an emergency, or she doesn't have somebody to take care of the kids, she can bring the kids to the office and leave them there. Or for some reason, she doesn't want to leave them somewhere else. The kid can be in the same building. So I think we have to look at it from scratch. We can't. I remember, and I don't know, I was talking about this to somebody. I remember one of my, and I've been, there is this Government of India policy of having a sexual harassment committee. And by virtue of me being one of the very few women in some of the organizations that I've been with, I've always been part of that committee. So in one of the organizations, I went up to one of the HR people and I said, you know what, we should have a sexual harassment session where we talk about what exactly it is, especially because we have a lot of older people and they might not really understand how the meaning of the word has changed in the last 20 years. And he said, that's fine. You collect the 50 women that we have in the office and you can, tell me, you can book a hall and you can go sit there and you can talk all you want about sexual harassment. So it is still seen as a woman's problem.
Yeah.
It is still seen as a woman who is supposed to be fixing it and not the other way around.
In fact, it should be the other way around. Here, I would like to add that, it is like converting the already converted. I mean, the sexual harassment, the principles have to be, since women often find themselves more at, at the receiving end of sexual harassment.
Absolutely.
I
I
mean,
understand
it's the men
what
who
sexual
need to
harassment
be
is.
educated on what comprises sexual harassment and how
Exactly.
there has to be policies for gender sensitization.
Yeah, I want to add to what Priya said, right? She said, interestingly, that today when she goes to a college, she sees that the numbers have increased. Now, that's something worth noting. I mean, again, when you look at the papers, board exam results, women doing better and almost 50-50. So I guess at the end, education level and people passing, why is it that people are falling off on the way? Why are the girls falling off on the way? So what is the root cause, right? And often we say for the woman, the 3 M's, like the first is maturity, and then is the marriage, and then is the motherhood. These are the 3 critical steps where women fall off the growth ladder. And at these 3 stages, there are the people around them who do not stop them from falling, right?
True.
At marriage, if the husband supports, if the in-laws support, this woman will not fall off the line. At motherhood, if there is an ecosystem, there is a support, the woman will not fall off the line. So while there's improvement in 10th class pass and 12th class pass of women, but this thing just falls. And beyond the family, it's the organization. You, me, each one of us, how we talk to people in our houses, in our neighbors, in our little kids, that is what matters.
So very, very good point, Prativa. So I want to bring this up, take this conversation forward about why do the numbers taper when we move further up the ladder. And like you rightly said, there are various reasons which contribute to them falling off the grid at certain stages in the line. So and we have seen one of the reasons being that a lot of times when women take a break from work, it could be for maternity leave or whatever else, many of them find that when they are join back at work, they are not they don't see the same kind of growth opportunities that they had earlier. So is it that for organizations, diversity is like just a tick box, that is you tick, make a tick, but actually supporting the growth opportunities once they are once they make a comeback from the gap in their careers, that is where a lot of times women tend to fall off the grid. So what is your take, Priya? How do you think women can really not take that gap as a as a career growth stopper, and rather
And can I add to Shipra's question? Yeah, you also spoke about how you have made your peace with the diversity hiring, sort of. So a little controversial question. I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate. So do you think that diversity hiring can actually lead to a compromise in standards, skills, matrices, merits?
Of course not. Of course not. We need to give women as many possible chances as we can. I think given a chance, a woman will any day better than any man. I mean, that's my, yeah, and that becomes another controversy right there. But I'm going to go to a non-controversial Shipra question. I think, Shipra, to generalize and say that organizations are using it as a check mark would not be fair to the organizations who are trying to do a good job of it. My current organization is doing a lot of things that matter to women, and at the very least, they are talking about it. They are openly talking about it. So I know a lot of organizations. One friend of mine, because of her daughter's, she had some, she had to take a year break, and she took a break. And when she came back, she was taken back without any question. She was given the same role, and then she continued on that. So I know there are a lot of organizations who are doing, but these organizations are few and far between. So I think as the business community, we have to see it as a problem. We have to, there are studies now which say that if you have women in your boardroom, you get better results. There are studies in the out there where you see, if you have women in your even manufacturing plants, in your decision making, you get better results. You get a more of a 360-degree view of the problem, and you look at it from a different lens. You just don't do solution. You kind of look at the problem as a whole. There are studies which say that women, people in an organization feel far more better if they have a woman leader or have few women leaders in the organization. So there's a I read somewhere, at least 10 to 20% business impact on numbers impact if you have more women in the organization. So it's a win-win situation all around. It's just that, we have to make some concentrated effort into making sure that women just don't drop off and then don't come back. Like I said, we have to have, like Prativa said, we have to have a support system at home and at work. We have to have better HR policies. We have to have forward-looking business leaders, and we as women have to do our bit. We cannot be victims in all of this. We cannot say that just because I am a woman, I've had the short end of the stick. We have to do our part. We have to ask for help. We have to keep doing better. And obviously things at some point in time will definitely stabilize and, be at a 50% level at least.
Like you said, sometimes, a lot of times what happens is that women, as women, we try to be good at everything. We want to be good at everything. I want to be the best manager. I want to be the best wife. I want to be the best daughter or best daughter-in-law or whatever. Do you think that sometimes, Priya, Prativa, both of you, I mean, you can answer that. Do you think that we tend to put too much pressure on ourselves, and rather we should, I'm not saying be average at everything, but just take it easy sometimes and spend more time on self-care and self-development.
And to add to Shipra's thing, I have myself been witness to real taskmasters, women taskmasters. So and I have never had the fortune to actually have a very pliable women boss. So they were always, so I always had this feeling that she's really trying very hard to do the best that she can, and which can rub off on other people. So you end up pressurizing the other people who are down the line. And that can also happen. So from my own experiences, I have seen a lot of hard taskmasters just making me slog and slog.
Is it about making a statement? I don't know. Maybe is it about making a statement, or is it just the personality?
I think good for them for making you guys slog. But but I think we do tend to put a lot of pressure on ourselves. I think we want to be the best at everything. We want to do everything. We want to control the house. We want to be at every single PTM for the kids. We want to get that medicine for the parents. We want to take the in-laws to the doctors. We want to be the best bosses. And one of my role models, Indra Nui, she said in one of the sessions, she said, I can't even remember how many PTMs I missed because I wanted to do something that was for me. And that could have been, taking some time off, doing what she was doing at work. So, I mean, I think we have to give ourselves, cut some slack. We have to ask for help, which we are not really good at.
And not feel guilty about it.
And not feel, absolutely delegate some of the work that we have at home to, the husband, to the kids, to the in-laws, to get some help at home. um, it's okay for you to not cook. I mean, I don't like cooking, so I don't cook. I mean, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to fail once in a while. It's okay to just take 2 days off and just relax and do nothing, and stay in bed with a cup of tea, a good book, just reset yourself. I think we have to give ourselves that space to be able to reboot. And it's okay to, come home, just do nothing. You don't have to come directly from the office and jump into something or the other. We have to, that's us, we have to do that. I think that's important.
That's very important.
Prativa, your take on it before. Actually, we have some audience questions, so we will quickly move to the audience questions. So
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, I do. I mean, early years I used to. I don't feel guilty, and I feel very proud that my husband is a great cook. And in fact, when my daughter was in nursery, primary school, and the first event that we went to, the headmistress told us, "Ma'am, we know who is the better cook at house." And then I said, "Yeah." He said, "It's your husband." I said, "How do you know?" "Because your daughter told us so." So she saw that in the house he was more in the kitchen than I was, and she thought that's normal, right? And we both were laughing, and we were comfortable with it, right? And then when my in-laws visit me, and when they see that, they feel comfortable with their son doing it, right? So it is the and I know of families where they normally do it with their wives, but when their parents come in, they do not step in to the kitchen. A lot of Indian men, I have seen that.
I have seen a lot of Uriya men who have been excellent cooks.
Yes. So it is, you have to be yourself. If the man is actually, and see, that's the thing. It's the full ecosystem of people around you who has to believe and take it along, right? You can't be two individuals, I mean, at home supporting, but if your parents come in, then, oh, you are just that man of the house. So I think that is a big success criteria for people, to have the wind beneath the wings at all times, not only when there is a fair weather, right? That's what I would say.
yeah. So there is a question from the audience for both of you, Priya and Prativa. Said, if you could go back in time, what professional advice would you give yourself and why?
Going back in time is always tricky.
If I could go back in time, what professional advice I would,
Actually, it would be an advice for the women also now who are listening to
Correct,
you.
correct.
I would have taken. There were 2-3 roles I did not take in my early careers. I thought I could not do it, and if my colleague who took it would be listening, but in my early days, I thought, and he used to come and tell me, they'll offer you that, you take it, but I actually did not take it. So there were 2-3 times when I thought I cannot do it.
But such is life. I mean, the ifs and buts.
No, it is. I think that is one area we women, again, is that imposter syndrome.
Underestimating yourself.
Underestimated.
I completely agree. I completely agree with Prativa on this one. Even if I could go back, I would tell myself to take a chance. I think a lot of times we just step back. Like I said, there's a presentation that has to be given. There is a project that needs to be picked up. There is travel that needs to happen to some weird place where you don't really want to go, and so you just give it up. So I think if I would go back, I would really ask myself to take a chance without the risk of being a failure, or without the risk of being, I mean, don't one of the things that we as women keep doing is to prove ourselves. We have to be the best, and we have to prove that to the world. Why do we have to prove ourselves? Nobody around you is proving anything to us. So there's no need for you to prove yourself. You are best at what you do. You are the greatest. You have all the skill sets. Just do a few little things, relax, look for mentorship, ask for help at home, and you are gold. I think there is nothing else that matters.
So, Prativa and Priya, we are really stretching overboard. It's already 6 o'clock. So, just 30 seconds on your advice to upcoming budding women, professionals, entrepreneurs. We currently see a huge crop of this current generation actually coming up in a big way. So, 30 seconds. your advice to the present generation and the entrepreneurs and leaders?
Maybe
Aspire.
maybe top three takeaways for
Yes, yes.
women who are listening to this today.
I
Men and women.
okay. So
More
one,
men and women, it can actually
okay. So one I always say is, which keeps me grounded, is the congruence, right? The congruence of what you think, what you say, and what you do. If these three are in
In sync.
in sync, you will never be preventing yourself from taking a decision or knowing whether it's right or wrong. If the three are getting connected, every step in your life where you have a doubt, just put that formula, right? That is one big formula that has really worked for me. Second, I keep on saying, is that sometimes life chooses, we choose, but sometimes life chooses us. So, but the difference is in how we deal with it and how we react to it. So, if you have been given something which you didn't want, but how you deal with it and react to it, that's how it really helps you move forward. And that will clear the mind that I was not given the right choice or XYZ, right? So the two things is the doubt, because we are in crisscrosses all the time. These two formulae will help to avoid that crisscrosses, I would say.
great. So, Priya, your key takeaways.
So I think be confident. Confidence is in your skill set, in yourself. That's my first one. Don't there will be days where you will kind of not want to do what you have to do, but have the strength to do it. The second one would be, we are a lot of times we are easy targets for people around us. It's her fault. She doesn't know. She's a woman leader. What does she know? There will be always naysayers. Shut your ears to those naysayers and look towards the people who are pulling you up, who are there to help. For every two people who are pushing you down, there are four who will pull you up. So make sure that you find those four people, make sure you interact with them, make sure you reach out to them. I am on LinkedIn. If there is anything that I can help anyone who is listening, or anyone who, a starting person, if there are any questions, if there's anything that you can learn from my journey, if there is any questions that I can answer, please feel free to reach out to me. Always available for whatever. Just go for it. I think that would be my thing. Just go for it, and everything will fall into their place.
Thank you.
It's
That's
been an
wonderful.
absolute pleasure hosting two extremely dynamic and very forthcoming women leaders. What
No,
do you think?
I absolutely agree, Mukbil. I think this was a very candid conversation, and it's heartening to actually hear both of you talking so candidly about your journeys, because what happens is a lot of time when people are listening to you said, oh, they have done so well in their lives, in their careers, what could possibly have gone wrong for them, what I mean, they have reached the top, but for them to know that, okay, you also stumbled upon those roadblocks and those failures, and yet you are here, so they too can do that. I think that itself will be very,
And that is a huge margin, as Priya said. Her rate of striking was 1 out of 50. But people actually never get to see, those failures, those stumbling blocks, and that is what gives them a sense of, when they view a very unidimensional perspective towards success, because they don't see the back end.
I
A
think
very
they have
favorite
seen that
term with
today.
technically.
So we have actually, like I said at the start, we have successfully gone behind your LinkedIn profiles to explore your true personas. So thank you so much, Priya and Prativa, for your time, and absolute honor to be moderating this session with Mukbil. And thank you so much. And to all our listeners, thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any questions for Prativa and Priya, like they said, you can reach out to them on their LinkedIn, or you can write to us. We can also connect you with them. With that, have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
It's
so
been
much.
a real pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Priya.
Bye.
Thanks, Prativa.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.